Yeah, it's not bad. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Bookmark's first virtual Parapalooza. I'm going to give everybody a few more minutes to get logged in, make sure everybody's tech is working, and then we will get started. So I would love to hear in the chat should be over to the right of your screen, if you will tell us where you are joining us from tonight. We've got a lot of people from here in Winston-Salem, but a lot of people from around. So please just let us know in the chat, and we'll get started in just a few minutes. That's a nice story. Hello again. Okay, welcome again to Bookmark's virtual Parapalooza. If you have attended a Parapalooza in person in the past, then you know a little bit of what to expect from tonight. If you have not, let me just tell you a little bit about how tonight's going to go. I will introduce each of our 8 authors and their books to you, and then bring them on screen so that they can read a passage from their book to you. We will go through all 8 authors. We're going to go alphabetically. And at the end, we would love to hear your questions for the authors, either as a group or individually. If you want to know about certain books, please just type your questions in the chat, and we will get to those questions as we see them in order that they are received. And I think you're in for a really great treat tonight. I understand that living in this virtual world is different for everyone, and comes with its own set of fatigue from virtual things. So I am excited about this event because you get to meet 8 authors tonight. Instead of coming to 8 separate things, you're going to get to hear from them all in one event, which is always the fun part about Parapalooza when we do it in person. So thank you for joining us. Just a few quick notes. Again, if you will just put your questions in the chat. Just ask that you keep everything respectful in tone, and even though we can't see you in person tonight, we're just really excited that you're here with us. It means a lot to Bookmarks that you have joined us for these virtual events over the past 5 months, and we have a little bit of events for everybody. So hope that you'll check out the rest of our event schedule. We have new events that we're announcing every day for kids, for teens, for adults. So I encourage you to check those out at bookmarksnc.org/calendar. and a few that are coming up that will be on Crowdcast on this platform next week, a week from tonight, actually. We will host North Carolina author Jill McCorkle and her new book, Hieroglyphics. And she will be in conversation with Michael Parker, who's also a former Bookmarks author, came to our festival last year. So we're really excited about that event. Coming up in a few weeks, we have Jesse in conversation with Brian Washington, and really excited about this event. Ya's first book, Homegoing, is one of my absolute favorites. So hope that you'll join us for that event as well. And then in the week after Jesse, September's very busy for events, so be sure to check those out. The week after Jesse, we are hosting Frederick Bachman, all the way from Sweden. He is the author of A Man Called Uva, which you might know. He has a new novel out and will be joining us from across the world. So several things coming up, and just thank you for joining us tonight. We hope you'll join us for some more in the future. So we're going to get started with our first author. Again, we have 8 authors joining us tonight. I'm going to introduce them to you, and then we'll bring them in one at a time. So up first is Susan Abulhawa. She is a Palestinian-American writer and political activist. She's the author of Mornings in Jenin, translated into 30 languages, and The Blue Between Sky and Water. Born to refugees of the Six-Day War of 1967, she moved to the United States as a teenager, graduated in biomedical science, and established a career in medical science. In July 2001, she founded Playgrounds for Palestine, a non-governmental children's organization dedicated to upholding the right to play for Palestinian children. Susan's new novel is called Against the Loveless World, and it is coming out next Tuesday. We're very excited about it. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the book, and she'll read you a little bit about it too. As Nahar sits locked away in solitary confinement, she spends her days reflecting on the dramatic events that landed her in prison in a country she barely knows. Born in Kuwait in the 70s to Palestinian refugees, she dreamed of falling in love with the perfect man, raising children, and possibly opening her own beauty salon. Instead, the man she thinks she loves jilts her after a brief marriage. Her family teeters on the brink of poverty. She's forced to prostitute herself, and the U.S. invasion of Iraq makes her a refugee, as her parents had been. After trekking through another temporary home in Jordan, she lands in Palestine, where she finally makes a home, falls in love, and her destiny unfolds under Israeli occupation. So please welcome Susan. I'm going to bring her on stage.
Thank you, and thank you for including me. So this is a very short, we're told we only can read one. I want to be respectful of time and just dive into it. This is a passage from The Cube where Nahid is imprisoned. When my nails were strong and I weighed more than now, I tried to mark time as prisoners do. One line on the wall for each day in groups of 5. But soon I realized that the light and dark cycles in the cube do not match those of the outside world. It was a relief to know, because keeping up with life beyond the cube had begun to weigh on me. Abandoning the imposition of a calendar helped me understand that time isn't real. It has no logic in the absence of hope or anticipation. The cube is thus devoid of time. It contains instead a yawning stretch of something unnamed, without present, future, or past, which I fill with imagined or remembered life. For a time, I marked my existence in menstrual cycles. After 117 periods represented in bloody dots on the wall, Lena, the interpreter, arrives with representatives of the Red Cross. Israel is bombing Gaza, so there's renewed interest in political prisoners. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. And thank you all for bearing with us during the technical technical things that we're going through. So there's a little bit of a delay when we bring somebody on stage. So okay, so up next, we are excited to have back with us again Heather Bell Adams. Her first novel, Maranatha Road, won the gold medal for the Southeast region in the Independent Publisher Book Awards and was selected for Deep South Magazine's Fall-Winter Reading List. She appeared at our Movable Feast that year as well. Originally from Hendersonville, North Carolina, Heather lives in Raleigh, works as a lawyer, and volunteers on the Raleigh Review fiction staff. Heather's new book, which came out in July, is called The Good Luck Stone. At 90 years old, Audrey Thorpe still lives in a historic mansion on palm tree-lined Victory Drive, determined to retain her independence. But when her health begins to fade, her family hires a part-time caretaker, Laurel. The two women seem to bond until Audrey disappears. Unbeknownst to Laurel, Audrey has harbored a secret since her time as a nurse in the South Pacific during World War II. As the story moves between the verdant jungles of the war-torn Philippines and the glitter of modern-day Savannah, friendships new and old are tested. Along the way, Audrey grapples with one of life's heart-wrenching truths. You can only outrun your secrets for so long. So, please welcome in your own home, Heather Bell Adams. She's coming, I promise.
Hello, thank you for having me, and thank you, Susan, for that beautiful reading. I'm going to read just a brief paragraph here from The Good Luck Stone. No matter how difficult it might prove, Audrey needed to stay calm. After she'd seen the museum exhibit, she would return to her life unchanged, without so much as a hint of any personal connection. But when she glimpsed the map on the wall, Audrey's breath quickened, and the sepia tones swam before her eyes. Back when she saw the archipelago for the first time from the ship, so many years ago and from such a distance, the islands looked like nothing more than specks of coral. Here, the music drifting from the museum's speakers sounded misplaced, the traditional gongs and lizard skin drums a stark contrast to her memories of Jimmy Dorsey and Glenn Miller on the Armed Forces radio. Slightly dizzy, she grabbed the velvet rope, separating her from the display of clay and hematite pottery. Perhaps coming here had been a mistake.
Thank you, Heather. As we go on, you might want to make some notes because I know you're going to want to read more of each of these books. Up next is Ashley Blooms. Born and raised in Kentucky, She received her MFA as a John and Renee Grisham Fellow at the University of Mississippi. Short stories have appeared in the year's Best Dark Fantasy and Horror, Fantasy and Science Fiction, and Strange Horizons, among others. Her nonfiction has appeared in the Oxford American. She's been awarded scholarships from the Clarion Writers Workshop and Appalachian Writers Workshop, served as fiction editor for the Yalobusha Review, and worked as an editorial intern and first reader for Tor.com. She currently lives in rural Kentucky with her partner and dog, where she is at work on her second standalone novel. So this first standalone novel is just came out 2 weeks ago on August 4th. It's titled Every Bone a Prayer. Misty's holler looks like any of the thousands of hollers that fork through the Appalachian Mountains. But Misty knows her home is different. She may be only 10, but she hears things. Even the crawdads in the creek have something to say if you listen. All that Misty's sister Penny wants to talk about are the strange objects that start appearing outside their trailer. The grown-ups mutter about sins and punishment, but that doesn't scare Misty. Not like the hurtful thing that's been happening to her, the hurtful thing that's becoming part of her. Ever since her neighbor William cornered her in the barn, she must figure out how to get back to the Misty she was before, the Misty who wasn't afraid to listen. This is a story of one tough-as-nails girl whose choices are few, but whose fight is boundless, as her coping becomes a battle cry for everyone around her. Written by a survivor of sexual abuse, Every Bone a Prayer is a beautifully honest exploration of healing and of hope. I am going to bring Ashley on stage now for you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to read a small section from the first time that we see Misty use her special empathic ability. Her mother had taught her how to pray when she was 5 years old. She knelt down beside Misty on the threadbare carpet and said, "Now open up your heart. It's more listening than saying anything, but you can ask for things too. You open up and wait for God to speak to you. Close your eyes now. Close your eyes." So Misty listened to her mother, and she listened for God. Her chest, a door flung wide open. Her heart, the golden light spilling onto the floor, eating the darkness whole. She invited everything inside. But instead of God, Misty heard the mouse living in the walls of their trailer.
Thank you, Ashley. Okay, and now we are going to hear from Annette Sanu-Clapsaddle. Annette, an enrolled member of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, holds degrees from Yale University and the College of William and Mary. Her first novel manuscript, Going to Water, is the winner of the Morning Star Award for Creative Writing from the Native American Literature Symposium. It's a finalist for the Penn Bellwether Prize for Socially Engaged Fiction. And after serving as executive director of the Cherokee Preservation Foundation, Annette was returned to teaching English and Cherokee Studies at Swain County High School. She's the former co-editor of the Journal of Cherokee Studies and serves on the Board of Trustees for the North Carolina Writers Network. Her new novel, Even As We Breathe, is coming out on September 8th. 19-year-old County Sequoia yearns to escape his hometown of Cherokee, North Carolina, in the heart of the Smoky Mountains. When a summer job at Asheville's luxurious Grove Park Inn and Resort brings him one step closer to escaping the hills that both cradle and suffocate him, he sees it as an opportunity. The experience introduces him to the beautiful and enigmatic Essie Stamper, a young Cherokee woman who is also working at the inn and dreaming of a better life. With World War II raging in Europe, the resort is the temporary home of Axis diplomats and their families who are being held as prisoners of war. A secret room becomes a place where County and Essie can escape the white world of the inn and imagine their futures free of the shadows of their families' pasts. Outside of this refuge, however, racism and prejudice are never far behind. And when the daughter of one of the residents goes missing, County finds himself accused of abduction and murder. Even as we breathe invokes the elements of bone, blood, and flesh as County navigates difficult social, cultural, and ethnic divides. This richly written debut novel explores the immutable nature of the human spirit and the idea that physical existence, with all its strife and injustice, will not be humanity's lasting legacy. Please welcome Annette.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm going to read from the prologue. About the place, when I take you there or when you find it on your own, just know what the old folks say is true. This land is ours because what is buried in the ground, not what words appear on a paper. But also know this, what is buried in the ground isn't always what you think. It's just the beginning. It's the beginning of the story, the beginning of all of us who call ourselves Homo sapiens. Fitting, I guess, that what I found buried, just as I was trying to figure out how to become a man and still be human, was the very thing that threatened to take it all away. Just when I began to see what taking control of my own life might look like, I realized I was not who I thought, and neither was this place.
Thank you, Annette. Okay, up next is Randall Keenan. Randall's writing has been nominated for the Los Angeles Times Book Award for Fiction, a finalist for the National Book Critics Circle Award, has been among the New York Times Notable Books of the Year. He's been nominated for the Southern Book Award, and he has worked on the editorial staff of Alfred A. Knopf Publishers. He has taught writing at Sarah Lawrence College and Columbia University. He was the first William Blackburn Visiting Professor of Creative Writing at Duke University and has been Visiting Professor of Creative Writing at UNC Chapel Hill, Writer in Residence at University of Mississippi, among many others. He's the recipient of a Guggenheim Fellowship, a Whiting Writers Award, the Sherwood Anderson Award, the John Dos Passos Award, and was the 1997 Rome Prize winner from the American Academy of Arts and Letters. He was awarded the North Carolina Award for Literature in 2005. And Randall was an author we had confirmed for our festival this September. So we're glad that we can have him virtually since the festival has been held off till next year. Randall's new collection is titled If I Had Two Wings, and it also came out on August 4th. In Keenan's fictional territory of Timms Creek, North Carolina, an old man rages in his nursing home. A parson beats up an adulterer. A rich man is haunted by a hog, and an elderly woman turns unwitting miracle worker. A retired plumber travels to Manhattan, where Billy Idol sweeps him into his entourage. An architect who lost his famous lover to AIDS reconnects with a high school fling. Howard Hughes seeks out the woman who once cooked him butter beans. Shot through with humor and seasoned by inventiveness and maturity, Keenan riffs on appetites of all kinds, on the eerie persistence of history, and on unstoppable lovers and unexpected salvations. If I Had Two Wings is a rich chorus of voices and visions, dreams and prophecies, marked by physicality and spirit. Please welcome Randall Keenan. I think Randall might be having some issues connecting, so we're going to give him a few more seconds here. And you know, technology is great for a lot of things and also very frustrating at times. Randall, if we can't get you connected right now, we'll circle back to you at the end, and might just have some internet issues connecting. Okay, we'll try you again in a little bit, Randall. So everybody remember what I just said about Randall. Don't forget it for later. We're going to move on to Charlie Levitt. Charlie is an award-winning playwright and the author of the New York Times bestseller, The Bookman's Tale, among other novels. His plays for children have been seen in over 5,000 productions worldwide. A former antiquarian bookseller, he collects books and memorabilia related to Lewis Carroll and Alice in Wonderland, and has written extensively on Carroll. He hosts the literary podcast Inside the Writer's Studio and lives in Winston-Salem and in Kingham, Oxfordshire. Charlie is no stranger to bookmarks, being a Winston-Salem author, and we are thrilled about his new novel coming out on September 22nd called Escaping Dreamland. Robert Parrish's childhood obsession with series books like The Hardy Boys and Tom Swift inspired him to become an author. Just as his debut novel becomes a bestseller, his relationship with his girlfriend Rebecca begins to fall apart. Robert realizes he must confront his secret demons by fulfilling a youthful promise to solve a mystery surrounding his favorite series, The Tremendous Trio. Guided by 12 tattered books and an unidentified but tantalizing fragment of a story, Robert journeys into the history of the books that changed his life, hoping they can help him once again. His odyssey takes him to 1906 Manhattan, and Robert's quest intertwines with the stories of 3 young people trying to define their places in the world at the dawn of a new and exciting century. The connections between the authors, their creations, and Robert's redemptive journey make for a beautifully crafted novel that is an ode to the children's series books of our past, to New York City, and above all, to the power of love and friendship. Please welcome Charlie Levitt.
Hey, thanks everybody for coming. This is the aforementioned mysterious and unidentified fragment from the Tremendous Trio stories. The last adventure of the Tremendous Trio. You were old enough now, old enough to know what the world is really like, to know that not every young man is either clean-cut and well-behaved or scruffy and evil, to know that good guys don't always win, that the dark side of human nature is darker than you thought, and that boys and girls do more than kiss on the cheek and hold hands. We think you're old enough that when you see a girl or perhaps a boy, you feel a certain stirring, feel a haze cover your eyes and clarity disappear and urges well up inside. You were old enough to know that even made-up characters in books can't always be heroes, and that you will not always be a hero. Sometimes even the best characters do dreadful things, and sometimes, in all likelihood, you will too. You were old enough to know about secrets and hidden places, and so we are going to tell you. So find a comfortable spot where no one will discover you, and prepare yourself. This may be the last adventure of the Tremendous Trio, but it will be the first one that tells you the truth. And for goodness sakes, when you're not reading this, keep it hidden away. If your parents find it, well, we wouldn't want to be around to see what happens.
Thank you, Charlie. Up next is Diana Quincy. Best-selling author Diana Quincy is an Emmy-nominated former television journalist who decided she'd rather make up stories where a happy ending is always guaranteed in the Regency world of dashing dukes, irresistible rogues, and the bold women who capture their hearts. As a U.S. Foreign Service brat, Diana grew up roaming the world, but is now happily settled in Virginia. When not bent over her laptop or trying to keep up with laundry, she enjoys reading, spending time with her family, and dreaming up her next travel adventure. Her new novel is called Her Night with the Duke, and it comes out September 29th. When Lady Delilah Chambers finds herself stranded at a country inn on a rain-swept evening, she's forced to fend off a group of ruffians with the help of a handsome gentleman. Irresistibly drawn to each other, Leela and the stranger spend one reckless night in each other's arms and then go their separate ways. But the very next day, Leela receives the shock of her life when she meets the Duke, who is set on wedding her beloved stepdaughter. Leela and Hunt are determined to keep each other at arm's length, which should be easy enough for two intelligent adults with reputations to uphold. The problem is all logic is lost when it comes to a passion that refuses to be ignored. Please welcome Diana Quincy.
Hi, thank you for having me. Obviously, my book is a little different than the other more serious books that we're listening to tonight. And I'm going to read a very quick and short passage. This is the heroine speaking to her stepdaughter after she has unknowingly slept with her daughter's fiance. "You shouldn't feel that you have to settle," she said to her stepdaughter. "How can wedding a duke ever be considered settling?" Tori shook her head. "True, it is not a love match, but I do feel Hunt is my destiny. You've always said fate will send the right man to me." Leela did believe in fate, a concept prevalent among her mother's people. One had free choice, of course, but a person's destiny could not be denied. Her skin prickled. What if Huntington really was Tori's Nasib, her fated husband? She couldn't fathom it. Surely Kismet could not be so cruel. That's it.
That's great, Diana. And we love romance at Bookmarks. So your book will be a hit with us when we get to read it next month. So now, last but not least, and then we'll circle back and try to get Randall on. Shruti Swami is the winner of 2 O. Henry Awards. Her work has appeared in the Paris Review, McSweeney's Prairie Schooner, and elsewhere. In 2012, she was Vassar College's 50th W.K. Rose Fellow and has been awarded residencies at the Malay Colony for the Arts, Blue Mountain Center, and Hedgebrook. She is a Kundiman Fiction Fellow, a 2017-2018 Steinbeck Fellow at San Jose State University, and a recipient of a 2018 grant from the Elizabeth George Foundation. And she's joining us from San Francisco. Her new collection, which just came out last week, is called A House is a Body. Dreams collide with reality, modernity with antiquity, and myth with identity in the 12 arresting stories of A House is a Body. In Earthly Pleasures, a young painter living alone in San Francisco begins a secret romance with one of India's biggest celebrities, and desire and ego are laid bare. In A Simple Composition, a husband's professional crisis leads to his wife's discovery of a dark, ecstatic joy. And in the title story, an exhausted mother watches, hypnotized by fear, as a California wildfire approaches her home. Immersive and assured, provocative and probing, these are stories written with the edge and precision of a knife blade. Set in the United States and India, They reveal small but intense moments of beauty, pain, and power that contain the world. Please welcome Shruti. Okay, I think this is a problem that I am having, so I'm sorry. It's not letting me add to the screen. So give us just a minute. We're going to work out this technical difficulty. I'm sorry. Chat among yourselves in the chat field. We'll be right back. Hi again. Sorry for that. I'm not sure what happened, but I think we're back. So sorry for that. I'm going to try to bring you back on, Shruti. So sorry about that. Let's try that again.
Reconnect as well.
Hi again. I'm sorry. We can't hear you, and I'm not sure. Not yet. Technology is so fun. We'll figure this out. Let's figure this out. I don't know. And try again. Yeah, maybe if you will unplug your headphones, does that work? Can't, still can't. Sorry. Who knows? Yeah, maybe let's try to get you out and I'll bring you back in. We'll figure it out. Sorry for this. You guys let us know what you're reading that's good at home. Share with us in the chat. Can't hear you. We can see you. Is your mic on okay on your side? No. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what else to try. Does anybody have any ideas over in the chat? Someone said, are you on mute on your side? Okay. I'm sorry. Let me try.
Exit out of Crowdcast and come completely back into Crowdcast.
Beth has suggested you exit completely out of Crowdcast and then come back to Crowdcast. So maybe try that. I'm going to try to get Randall on, if you're still with us, Randall, and we'll try to do your reading. This is why we need to figure out what's going on with COVID and get back to in-person events. So let's see if Randall's going to join us here. And it says on my end, Randall, that you're connecting. It's not letting us see you yet. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know why all of a sudden we can't connect with Randall and with Shruti. Sorry, guys. Really want you to hear from these two authors. We're going to keep trying. Maybe while we keep trying, we could ask some of your questions that have come in on the chat. I'm going to scroll back up, but if you want to retype questions or type in questions in the chat, hopefully our authors have been watching. You're getting a lot of love in the chat here for your books and your readings. Let's see.
She says she thinks she figured it out.
Okay.
Sure you did.
Okay, let's see if we can bring Shruti on now that let's see if this works. But go ahead and type your questions in and we'll get to those too.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes, yay!
Okay, sorry, that was my 100% bad. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so I will be reading now a little bit quicker from my story collection, Houses of Body. This is from a story called The Mourners, and it is about a baby. The whole story isn't about a baby, just this paragraph. The baby can feel voice building up in her lungs like heat, voice building and building until it spurts from her mouth. Then a coolness comes into her throat and she quiets. She bats up her fists and feet and kicks, feeling the limbs working below. There is silence at the center. It is courage, the baby. It is courage to live in an expanding body, with limbs lifting outward, with teeth pushing up, with hands and mind growing finer, with eyes settling on color, with body unbending from the earth and standing upright, balancing perilously on two legs, and then moving forward, walking, running forward, teeth loosing, filling, knees scraped and healing, voice gaining depth and sureness, hips and breasts accruing, skin darkening, stretching, blood slipping out from the thighs, and death always, always at the back.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry we had those technical difficulties, but certainly worth the wait. Thank you for that reading. And we will continue to try to connect with you, Randall. But let's go ahead and get some questions to you guys too. Looks like everybody's been reading some really great stuff, so I'm excited to hear about that. I am curious if we can know from our author guests what you have been reading and enjoying, and we would love to hear you talk about those. So if you will just type in the chat that you have one that you want to talk about, a book that you've been reading recently, maybe something that's helped you get through quarantine and stay-at-home times, and you want to share with us, we'd love to invite you on screen for you to talk about what you've been reading. Does anyone want to share? Should I pick you at random? This is harder when somebody has to. Oh, thank you, Heather. I was gonna say, it's harder when I have to nominate somebody. Okay, let me get you on screen, Heather, and you can tell us about what you have been reading, if I can find you. I'm back. Okay, it's telling me you're not live right now, Heather, so I'm gonna try to see what's going on with that. But you can type in the chat what you've been reading. Does someone else want to get on screen, one of you other authors, and tell us what you might recommend to our readers today? Thank you, Charlie. I'm going to invite you on screen and you can tell us.
I don't know if I'm on screen or not.
Here you are.
Hey, I was just going to say, the first time I got to actually go away in quarantine, we went up to the mountains for a few days, and I read Kevin Kwan's new book because I was going to have him on the podcast. And I mean, first of all, he was delightful to talk to, just a really, really great guy. But the whole first half of the book is set on the island of Capri, and it was like the next best thing to having a trip to Italy with Barbara Raffaldini. You know, it's like it wasn't the real thing, but it was really nice to just sort of in your brain be in a beautiful place that you've never been before after 5 months of being in my house.
I definitely agree, Charlie. It definitely took you to a beautiful setting. I've never been, but now I definitely have to go. Oh my goodness. So Diana said she will talk to us about some thrillers that she's been reading, and that's exciting. Definitely genre fiction has been great during this time.
Do I talk?
Yeah, do you want to share with us about your thrillers you've been reading?
I can't read any. I found I can't read anything serious or dark. So I've really been reading a lot of thrillers. And the two I read the most recently is My Husband's Wife by Jane Corey and After Anna by Lisa Scottoline. And I just find that during these times when there's so much uncertainty, that I'm reading more escapist books, and I'm staying away from more serious books. So that's how I'm coping.
Me too. I definitely hear you, especially during the first couple months. I couldn't hardly read anything. So definitely escapist has been the way to go. So, and I've enjoyed romance during this time too. So
me too. Yeah.
Okay, does somebody else have a Susan? Yeah, let me bring Susan on to tell us a little bit about what she's been reading. Thank you for sharing with us. I think it's always great to hear what our author friends have been reading, introduce us to new books.
So I actually just finished and interviewed Fatima Buttu about her new book. It's called The Runaways. It's a brilliant book that tackles a subject of these runaways that actually left their comfortable homes and joined ISIS. So it was interesting. And now I'm reading a book by a Nigerian author, and I'm just really loving it, having a hard time putting it down. It's called The Death of Vivek Oji by Akwaki Emezi. So they're both, I'm enjoying them both. I enjoyed Fatima's, and I'm enjoying this one immensely.
I loved The Death of Vivek Oji as well. It's it was just, she writes so well and cleanly. Yeah. I really enjoyed that one too. So thank you for sharing, Susan. Annette says she will share with us. So I am going to ask you on screen to share with us, Annette. And thank you guys for sharing your books with us. Hello again. Share with us what you've been reading during this time.
Sure. Most recently, I have been reading, and I have jackets with me. So I've got Karen McElmurray, Wanting Radiance. And it is about a young woman who's kind of retracing a family mystery. Her mother had been murdered. And it also weaves in astrology and palm reading. So I'm always fascinated by that as well. And then I tend to also listen to books while I'm exercising or outside, or driving. And so I have been listening to two books, really. One, I don't read a whole lot of horror fiction, but recently started listening to The Only Good Indian by Stephen Graham Jones, which I'm really enjoying. And it's it's nice to get into a different genre for a little while. I don't recommend listening to it if you're in the woods by yourself, though. And then the other one, and I don't know if I can even say this on here. I know some people have probably heard of it, but Leah Hampton's F-Face is incredible. It really is incredible. It's a short story collection by Leah, and it's funny and just so well crafted. I'm trying to pick the stories from it that I can use in my own classroom to teach with. Sure.
That has been recommended to me by several writers, so I know it must really be great. And Stephen Graham Jones' book, The Only Good Indians, has been a staff favorite of ours this year. So definitely we love that one too. And also audiobooks, yes. Audiobooks have been a great savior for me, especially during this time. So great suggestions. Thank you, Annette. So I love Diana's question over here in the chat, and I would love to hear from any of our authors who have a response to this. So Diana is asking, she's curious to learn if any of the authors have a dream book they'd like to write that's completely different from what you've written so far. Does anyone have a dream book that you would love to write in a different genre that you'd like to share? I'm wondering, Diana, do you have one since you are asking that question? We will have you in here to talk about it too. Okay, Ashley, yay! Let's hear what you want to write one day. Hi again.
Hi. So I tend to write with, I kind of treat genre as like a grab bag, and I kind of take what I want from different genres and like to mix them all together. But I really want to write like a full-on secondary fantasy, like magic series, sort of like, you know, I rewatch Lord of the Rings at least once a year because it's just like, it's just the most. So I want to write something in that vein. That's one of my great dreams. It'll probably happen a little bit down the road. I'm not sure I'm quite ready for it yet, but I'm really excited about it.
That would be amazing. Who doesn't rewatch Lord of the Rings at least once a year? So we're also really huge fantasy fans at Bookmarks. So I am in favor of that series, Ashley. So Diana, I want to hear what book you want to write in a different genre. So let's have you tell us about that. I don't know what I would write if I could write. I don't even think I'd try. Okay. Hi again, Diana. Tell us.
Yeah, if I had not sold this historical romance series to HarperCollins, I had already plotted out a thriller set in modern day, and I only write historicals up until now, and featuring an Arab American family. And it's a thriller, but it was also going to deal with sort of like stereotypes and themes. And I still hope to write it someday. I also write mysteries, historical mysteries. So I've written those too. So.
And so for your historical writing, how do you go about doing your research for those? Is that a very intensive process?
Yeah, I mean, you have to, even though it's fiction, if, you know, you have, you know, matches in 1800, you know, you're going to hear about it. So, and even though it's fiction, readers are very particular. And so, yeah, you have to be very careful about your historical research. And, you know, thankfully for Google, all these primary sources that are in the public domain, these old books that are in the public domain, it's just, it just makes it so easy. And you can go down a rabbit hole and, you know, spend the whole afternoon in research. And that's usually how I figure out what the next book is. Okay, that's fun. That's exciting. I'm sure you do hear from readers if you if a plant and if a plant blooms in the wrong season, a flower blooms in the wrong season, I hear about it. But in a very nice way. So I hope so. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for that question. I wonder if any of our other writers who deal with looking up historical settings for your books, if you've been contacted by a reader because they say you've gotten something wrong. Readers are sometimes merciless, so I'm sure that is a problem for everyone. Charlie, you've been doing a lot of research for your historical fiction. I would love to hear more about researching New York at the turn of the century. I'm inviting you on screen if you would like to join me.
It's really funny the things that readers call you out on. I've been called out for serving Pimm's too late in the evening, like at 8 o'clock. I got called out on that one. I've gotten called out because I write books that are set in England for calling an outdoor staircase stairs instead of steps, because steps are outdoors and stairs are indoors in Britain, apparently. I got called out for saying that Paddington Station was iron and steel and glass and steel. And somebody wrote me and said, I think it's wrought iron. We should check on that. So I almost feel like you should put in one or two little things like that, because the readers take so much joy in calling you out about it. But this research is so much fun. Burying myself in 1906 New York was just incredible. Atlases and city directories and photographs and even some motion picture clips and everything like that. It's just it's a joy to just delve into a different time period.
It sounds like it. I love the idea of putting in a book something to see if somebody will catch it. Thank you for sharing that. I sometimes want to put that in some of my emails to see if somebody is actually reading the email that I send. Susan, I would love to know what your funny novel would be if you were to write something comical. And I want to know about Shruti's graphic novel too. So I'm going to invite you both on screen. You can join me if you would like to tell us about it. What would your comical novel be about, and why do you think you can't write it?
Oh, I mean, I just don't do humor very well. I'm told. Yeah, I'm just not funny, I guess. As my daughter always tells me, Mom, you're just not funny. So, yeah, I don't write humor very well, but I do have a dream. I mean, I write mostly historic fiction, and I'm a really hyper detailed researcher when it comes to stuff like that, down to like, what flowers would my character be seeing if they were walking in this place at this season? But I would really like to write a novel out of Ottoman archives, which I've been trying to figure out how to get to and how to research. They're all written in old Turkish, and they're in Istanbul, and you have to hire somebody, but it's on my wish list to do that.
Well, it seems like some of your readers in the chat are saying that you can definitely do this. So I think they're wanting to see all of those books from you in the future. So thank you for sharing. And here you are, Shruti. I'm gonna bring you in. There you are. Hello again.
Hello again. I've been reading a lot of graphic novels lately, and yeah, it just seems like there's such a way, especially the way that you can use like body language and silence. It's like a really beautiful intermediary between, or like a liminal zone between a movie and a book. But I can't really draw at all.
Well, that's okay. You could do all the words and have an illustrator come do the
yeah, that's true.
For you. That's totally fine. Do you have some graphic novels that are your favorites?
I really love Adrian Tomine's work. I haven't read his new book yet. And I've read this kind of amazing graphic. It's a series of short stories by Bishak Som, Apsara Engine, which just came out a few months ago. Is there another one I can think of? And Mira Jacobs' Good Talk is it's like maybe one of my favorite books.
Graphic novels is a genre that I have not dipped into very deeply, and I feel bad about that. So I'm going to look up your recommendations and try those. So thank you for those recommendations. Does anyone else have any other questions for our writers? I am so sorry that we can't connect with Randall right now. I'm trying him again, and I'm not sure what's going on there. But you will just have to take my word for it that his short story collection is quite fabulous. I really enjoyed it and laughed and cried throughout the stories. There have been some really fabulous short story collections come out this year, and those have also been good during quarantine, I think, in short little doses. If anyone has any other questions, you want to put them in the chat. I don't want to keep everybody forever, but I hope that everyone has enjoyed hearing from our authors tonight. I know the format seems a little crazy. How much could you get from a paragraph? But I think you'll agree that you get a good sense of the writer and the book, and hopefully you'll want to read all of them now, and then we can talk about them when we all get to gather again and see each other. You know, and hopefully by next year we'll be able to have a Parapalooza in person. We are going to try another one of these at the end of September. And it's going to feature our Penguin sales rep, Virginia. If you attended the Kevin Kwan Lauren Ho event, she moderated that, and she's going to tell us about some upcoming books from Penguin publishers, and we're going to have 8 Penguin authors join us as well. So hopefully technology will work well. It's always a toss-up, I think. So thank you guys so much for your patience and understanding during this. And Randall, we'll have to get you back on an event coming up so that we can hear from you. So thank you all so much. And tomorrow, oh, I do want to mention, yes, somebody had asked about sending the recommendations. Tomorrow we will send everybody links and lists of all of our writers' books, all of our writers who joined us tonight, and then also the books that they mentioned we will put in there too. So if you didn't get those while they were talking about them, we will send you that, so no worries. Thank you all for joining us tonight, all of our writers. So great to have you, and everyone, please stay safe. Stay healthy, and hopefully we'll be able to see you all in person at Bookmarks soon. Thanks. Good night.